Hey everybody! Welcome to lesson 3. And this is module 4, where we're talking about interpreting fractions as division. Yesterday we took a look at some fractions and did some things like we looked and we noticed that 1/2 is actually is 1 divided by 2, and then we do that if we draw it out and sorry, that should be draw one of them out, and 1 divided by 2. That we would find that we would take that, put that into 1 over here and 1 over here, and we would get 1/2 in each group, and our answer would be 1/2, right? And 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. And so we're kind of proving that this fraction, that it is division, and division is essentially fraction. So what we're going to do today is kind of kick that up just a little bit notch, and we're going to add in the standard algorithm. Okay, so we're still going to be looking at things like our unit fractions. We're still going to be looking at things like unit forms of our fractions. We're going to be looking at things like improper fractions and mixed numbers, and then we're going to be looking at our standard algorithm. So let's begin. I have 3 problems for you. One is going to be 4 divided by 3, and I want you to think about, when we look at this, how could we show this visually? If we had 4 and we put them into 3 different groups, we would have to cut these up. We're doing it into 3 groups, so each of these would have to go into thirds, and we would have ourselves a set number of thirds. And so yesterday we talked about this as being each one of these were different flavor crackers, and so we could call this the different flavor cracker method if you really wanted to. But we cut this into a group of thirds, and so now we need to figure out, well, how many thirds are there? Well, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, or 4 times 3, and so I have 12 thirds. Okay, we picked thirds because essentially, right, this is 4 divided by 3, or 4 divided by 3, and we're saying, well, how many thirds do we have? And we have 12 of them because we counted them up here, so I have 12 thirds, and I'm going to divide that by 3, and 12 divided by 3 equals 4, and how many thirds? That's 4 thirds, right? 12 thirds divided by 3 is 4 thirds, and 4 thirds can also be written as this, 4 thirds. And ultimately, that's 3 thirds plus 1 third, or 1 1/3. So these are all ways that we've been taking a look at this fraction of 4 thirds, or 4 divided by 3. Okay, same thing, right? Well, so today I want to just add in one more thing, which is the standard algorithm. I'm saying 4 divided by 3. Well, let's put that into a division statement. Let's divide it. Let's do what we would do. We know division, and so 4 divided by 3, and that goes in there 1 time, and it's 3. So I'm going to subtract out 3 to get 1 left over. And this 1, what this represents is, this 1 would be this 1 left over, because I used 3 crackers, or 3 squares, or 3 whatevers, 3 holes. I used these ones up, and I still have this 1 left over, right? 1. And this 1, I still need to divide into 3 pieces, right? I still need to divide it by 3. 1 divided by 3. So I can say simply that my result would be 1 and 1 divided by 3, right? Or 1 and 1/3. And so that's right there. That's where we're going with this. Now, if I have that and I want to check it, we know how to do this. We take our quotient and we multiply it by our divisor. And we should get our dividend. So 1 and 1/3. We're going to multiply it by 3, and let's just do repeated addition at this point to save ourselves, and we're going to do that plus 1 1/3, and that plus 1 and 1/3, and that's 1 2 3. That's 3 and 3/3. That's 3 plus 1, or 4, which is exactly what we had over there. So to recap what we did here was we had 4 1/3. We had 4 divided by 3, which was 4 thirds. We drew them out into four 4 squares and divided them up each in 2 thirds, and we said that we had 12 total thirds. We could also get that by doing 4 times 3. So we got 12 thirds total, and we divided that by 3 to get 4 thirds, or 4 thirds. And 4 thirds in as a mixed number is 1 1/3. And then we divided that to show the same thing. We had 4, and we divided it by 3 to get 1 and 3. We subtracted that to get 1 left over, and that 1 was still, we need to divide it by 3. So we just move that up here, say 1 divided by 3. We got our answer of 1 1/3. So let's do this. So we're gonna just take that same problem there, that 4 divided by 3, and we're gonna double the 4, and we're gonna get 8 divided by 3. And you want to just look at the same thing again. 8 divided by 3. If I wrote that as a fraction, that would be 8 thirds. Okay. 8 thirds, or 8 divided. Sorry, I said 8 thirds. 8 divided by 3, right? 8 thirds. Yeah. A long day, I guess. And so now what I need to figure out is how many thirds are there in 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is probably the last time I want to draw all of that, because I know if I just split these up into thirds, right? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. Or I could just do 8 times 3. Anyways, that would give me 24 thirds divided by 3 would equal 8 thirds in each group. And if that's what I'm seeing here, right, I'm going to take boom, 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 and I'm going to split these all down into these ones, right, because I'm going to be like, well, 1 for this one, and 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 1 for this one, etc., all the way down. 1 more for this one, 1 for this one, and I would do that whole thing, and I would end up with, I would have 8 different 1/3s in each one. 2, 3, 4, 5, oh my gosh, this is messy, 6, 7, 8, and there it is. And I could count them up. 8 thirds, yeah, I got it, woohoo! And ultimately I could just say, well, 8 divided by 3, or 8 thirds, and that would be 24 thirds divided by 3, or 8 thirds. And 8 thirds can be written as, well, how many holes? Well, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 2 holes. And the 7, 8 is 2 thirds remaining. And let's do this as a standard algorithm where I'm doing 8 and I'm dividing it by 3. I'm taking my 8 and I'm putting it into 3 groups. 3 goes into 8 twice as 6, and I have 2 left over. And I'm doing my 2 divided by 3 to get 2 thirds. Okay, I have different ways that I can go about getting the same types of answers, and ultimately what this exercise is about is just showing you that this equals this equals this is this, and they're all the same thing. They're all the same way. All right. Now if we check our answer here, we're multiplying this times 3, so 3 times 2 2/3. So let's just do 2 2/3 plus 2 2/3 plus 2 2/3, and that would be 2, 4, 6. That would be 6, and then I have 2, 4, 6 thirds, 6 6/3. Now 6 thirds is 2, and I have 6, so 6 plus 2, and that equals 8, and 8 is what I have. Okay, last time we're going to go about doing this, and we are going to double our 8. So we had 8 divided by, we started off with 4 divided by 3, and then we just did 8 divided by 3. So now we're just going to double that up, and we're going to say, let's do 16 divided by 3. If I wrote that as a fraction, I would write 16 thirds. If I wrote that as a mixed number, well, how many thirds will go, how many thirds go into 16? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, that would be 5. And I have 1 more third left over, so 5 1/3. And let's do that. Let's divide that out. First off, I guess, let's say how many thirds is in 16. Well, if I have 16 things and I split those 16 things up into thirds, basically what I'm doing is I'm multiplying 16 times 3, and if I do that, I'm thinking about 10 times 3 would be 30. 6 times 3 would be 18, and that would equal 48. So if I take these 16 and I split them up into thirds, each one, I'm going to end up with 48 pieces, or 48 thirds. And those 48 thirds I'm dividing by 3. And in each third, or each, and divided by 3, and in each circle or each group, I'm gonna get, my brain's working really well today. In each group, I'm gonna get 16 thirds. And 16 thirds is the same as 16 thirds. And last but not least, let's just divide this out. 16 divided by 3. I can't go into that. 16 goes into 3. 5 times, right? That would be 15. 5. Now I get 15. I would have, sorry, I'm subtracting, so I would have 1 left over. Get rid of that. I would have 1 left over. And 1 divided by 3, okay. Let's write that up there. 1 divided by 3. It's kind of nice. It's almost like you're just being like, oh, let's just deal with that later. It's 1 divided by 3. And really it is. It's 1/3. So I ended up with that. Now if I'm going to check that answer, I'm going to multiply this by that. So I'm going to do 5 1/3 3 times. And that would equal 5 times 15. And, sorry, 15. And 3 thirds, or 15 plus 1, or 16. Dun, 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 dun. So there we go. We have our answer. When we're doing this, we're just taking a look at these things and noticing similarities between the two, noticing that they are the same. They are synonymous. And we'll go from there. So post any questions you have, but you guys are doing great. And keep up the fantastic work. You are awesome, and I have confidence in you. And you should have confidence in yourself, so you're super. So, see you later, alligator. What's up, everybody? Welcome to lesson 2. This is where we're interpreting division as a fraction. Excuse me, sorry about that. This is for module 4 now that we're on. And what we're going to start to think about is fractions and the division behind it and what that means. And so we're going to be thinking today in terms of crackers. What you're thinking about crackers. And let's begin. Imagine that we have 2 crackers, delicious crackers right there. And if I was going to share those crackers, and I was going to give them to 2 people, how much would each person get? Well, this cracker would go to this person, and this cracker would go to this person, and each person would get 1 whole cracker. That's what they would eat, right? And I can put that as a expression, a numerical expression. I can say I have 2 crackers. I'm gonna divide it by 2, and each person would get 1 cracker, right? So imagine that instead of that, imagine that we only have 1 cracker to give to our 2 people. What would we do? How much would each person get? Well, you would have to cut that cracker in half first, right? And each person, this person here would take this half, and this guy would get this 1/2, putting it right on their face. And this person would get this half cracker, and so we would take that 1 cracker, and we would divide it by our 2 people, and each person would get 1/2. Cool. And my 1 goes up there, right? And my 2 goes down there. Interesting, right? Okay. And if we did the same thing with 1 cracker, but this time we invited a friend along, and this person, she wants a cracker too, and so I would have to take my 1 cracker, and I'm dividing it amongst 3 people now, and so I would have to zip zip, and I would get 1/3. Cool. Starting to see maybe a pattern, right? Maybe there's a sequence here. and that's coming along. What if I went ahead and I had 2 crackers, and I still had those 3 people? What would I do with those 2 crackers? Now I have 2 crackers, and I want to divide it by 3 people. Well, I mean, I would need to first begin and take my crackers and break them up into 3 pieces. So maybe if I did this here, and I did this here, and each person would get, well, let's see, let's try this. This one here, this would go down to this guy. So there's 1 for you. That's 1. And this one here goes to you, and this one here goes to you. Awesome. And 1 what? How many did I just cut that cracker? This is my 1 whole cracker here. This is 1 cracker, and this is another cracker. Together we have 2. How many did I just cut this cracker into? Just put it into 3 pieces, right? So this would be 1/3. And so this person would get 1/3, and this person would get 1/3, and this person would get 1/3, right? And over here, same thing. I would take this third, and I would send it over to this guy. You get those 2, right? And this one will go here, and this one will go over here, along with these ones, who also went to other places. And total, then, each person, they would end up getting how many pieces of cracker? Well, they would end up getting 2 pieces, right? They would end up getting 2 of them. And the size of those pieces would be in thirds. So each person would get 2 thirds, right? 1/3 and 2/3. That would be 2 thirds. Okay. Now let's take a look at another option. Let's take a look at 3 crackers, and we're just going to give them. We're going to bring back just our original 2 people, and so I have my 3 crackers, and I'm going to give them to 2 people. There's a couple different ways you can go about looking at this one. If I'm giving them into 2 people and dividing them by 2, I could just go ahead and cut each cracker in half, right? And then each person would get. Well, I could give 1 to this one and 1 and 1. So you get each person would get. You get 1 here, and you get 1 there, and you get 1 from that one. So you would get, and I could just split them in half here, and I could say you get these ones and you get these ones. And these are halves, right? Cut those in halves. And so then these would be halves down here as well, right? And gave these ones, well, that's a 2, it is. And so maybe I gave these 3 to this Yahoo here, and I gave these 3 to this cracker loving person right here, and 1/2 and 1/2 and 1/2. That's great. Hey, cool. So how many total halves did they have? I have 1, 2. I have 3 halves. 3 halves. 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2. Awesome. 3 divided by 2. Well, how many total is that? This would be 1 whole cracker here, plus I'd have a half, right? So I end up with 1 and 1/2 a cracker. The other way you could go about looking at that is if I did have my 3 crackers and my 2 people. Here they are again. And I had my 3 crackers, and I'm dividing them up into 2. I could just take this 1 cracker here, couldn't I? And this guy gets this cracker. And that would leave me with this one here. Each person got a whole of 1 cracker. That's 1 and that's 1. I each got 1. And then I had this guy left over. I'd just snap it in half, right? This half will go here, and this half will go to this guy. And so each of them would get 1 1/2 crackers. So I could think about it as far as that goes too. What I want to focus on now is remember when we took and I had the 3 crackers, and then the 2 people, and instead of just giving 1, we just cut all of the crackers in half first and then divvied them up. That's what I want to think about now. We're going to have ourselves 4 crackers, and I'm going to have 2 people. Okay, and those 4 crackers, how many would each person get if I just had 4 crackers and 2 people? Each person would get 2 crackers, right? We'll take these 2 here, and I give them to this guy. Take these 2 here and give them to this guy. That would be fair, wouldn't it? Altogether, they would have 2. But let's pretend that I'm going to give these guys, each cracker is going to be an individual flavor. They're all going to be different flavors of crackers. There's all kinds of crackers out there. And I'm not going to get crazy and give them fancy names. I'm just going to call them flavor 1, flavor 2, flavor 3, and flavor 4. And let's say that these guys, well, they love crackers, and they each want to try some. They don't want to they don't want to miss out on a new flavor. So they each want to try some of these crackers. Well, we would have to do like we did, and we would have to cut each of them in half first, and then divvy them up so that this person is going to get 1 from each group. This person's going to get 1 from the flavored 1, 1 from the flavored 2, and 1 from the flavored 3, and 1 from the flavored 4. When I say 1, I mean each person is going to get 1 of these. So this one, the half. Okay. So this one's a half, and that's a half, and that's a half, and that's a half, right? And over here, this person is also going to get the same setup. They're each going to get 1/2 of a cracker in each one. A 1, a 2, a flavor 3, and a flavor 4, right? And that's going to make sure that everybody does it. So, so if I look at that, then how many halves are there in all? How many halves are there in all? I had 4 crackers. I cut them each in half, and I have 2, 4, 6. I would have 8 halves of crackers, right? And I'm dividing them up amongst my 2 people. And how many would they each get? They would each get 4 halves, right? So 4 divided by 2 equals 4 halves, right? 4 halves altogether, well, that's 4 halves, that's 1 cracker, that's 2. So altogether they ate 2 crackers, didn't they? But in order to do this, we had to cut them up before we divvied them up. And that's going to be an important thing. We originally started with 4 halves. Okay. And then let's try, so we had 4 halves. Let's try something here. And let's take 5 crackers and let's divide them by 2. Let's do the same thing we just did, but instead of with 4, I want to do 5. 3, 4. They're different flavors. They're also different shapes. They're different kinds of crackers, okay? And flavor 1, flavor 2, flavor 3, flavor 4, and flavor 5. And here's my 2 people. It could be 2 boys. This could be 2 girls. Who cares? And we're going to do the same thing. They're all different flavors. They each want to have some of them. So, like we said, we need to go ahead and break them in half first. And then imagine you put them out. Each of these guys could come over, and they could each take their own cracker. Each of them is going to take a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, right? They're each going to get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. And if you had to, you could draw out the little pieces of crackers so you could visualize that. But each of them got those, and those are halves, right? So how many total halves did we start off with? I'm going to look up here. How many total halves did I begin with? Did I divide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 10 halves. And I divided them by 2 people. And I got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves, right? So I have my 5 divided by 2. 5 halves, right? 5 halves. If I did that, that would be, if I made this into a mixed number, I would have 2 total crackers, and I would still have a half left, right? Or 2.5. 2.5 crackers, okay. So what I want you to notice is, when we do this, when we do our division, we kind of get like a dividing sign, don't we? Like the division sign really is like a fraction, isn't it? You have something on top and something on bottom. 5 divided by 2 equals 5 halves, right? Let's test something here. Let's try something. What was 1 divided by 5? 1/5, right? What's 1 divided by 7? 1/7, right? What is 3 divided by 7? 3/7, right? What is 3 divided by 8? 3/8. You're getting good at this. You're getting so good. What is 3 divided by... Oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself. What's 3 divided by 10? 3/10. What would 3 divided by 100 be? 3/100. Excellent. Okay. So as you're doing this, as you're thinking about this, I really want to just recap. I really want you to think about, what you're beginning with. And if you're having two people here, what you're beginning with is you're starting off with taking your wholes and you're cutting them up before you divide them up, right? And that's going to make you kind of understand a little bit better. But here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 halves, and I have 6 halves, and I'm going to divide that by 2. Uniform, and you guys will be fine. You'll be great. Post any questions you have, and thanks for watching. Check you later.